Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. My name is Jeffrey Kahn, and I am proud to be the Andreas C. Dracopoulos Director of the Berman Institute of Bioethics here at Johns Hopkins. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you all. And I know we have in the audience among us university leaders, advisory board members, faculty, students, and of course project investigators to what is the second Practical Ethics Symposium. You'll hear in a little bit about the range, diversity, and depth of topics that make up the 7 projects, and I would argue, and I'm sure without a lot of pushback from you all, that it's a testament to the deep commitment to collaboration and to taking on hard, sometimes seemingly impossibly hard problems, where science, social issues, innovation, food production, international diplomacy, and others all raise fundamental ethical issues that must be taken on for those areas to advance responsibly. As my predecessor as director of the Berman Institute, Ruth Faden, will recount in her remarks in a moment, this symposium is a step along a longer trajectory that started 4 years ago. Before I invite her to the podium to provide that context and sort of set the stage for today, I want to acknowledge the months of extremely hard work by 2 other people that made today possible. First is my colleague and friend, Professor Merritt, sitting in the front row, applause later, but spontaneous applause is more evidence. You may know she's associate professor in the Department of International Health in the Bloomberg School of Public Health, as well as a core faculty member of the Berman Institute. And she has led the process of beginning with crafting the request for applications for this second round of project awards, worked with faculty across all the divisions of the university, and that's in itself a huge undertaking. She encouraged ideas, collaborations, and eventually the applications that came out of those discussions, managed the peer review process that resulted in the selection of the 7 projects that are being presented today, and has been helping to shepherd the work of the projects over their course. And as you'll experience shortly, she'll also be our MC for today. She also has been working for a number of months with the second person I want to acknowledge in working to plan, organize, and bring to fruition this symposium, and that's Suzanne Kneisner. Where's Suzanne? In the back there. Suzanne is the event planning specialist extraordinaire in the Berman Institute, and so thank you for the applause for both of them, and let me just say my personal thanks to the both of you. You've done Yale people's work. And now I'd like to invite my friend, colleague, and my predecessor as director of the Institute, Ruth Faden, to the podium to share some of the history and context of the exploration of Practical Ethics Initiative. Ruth.
Lots of concern about whether I would trip on my way up. I did it, which was exciting. Thank you, Jeff. So as Jeff noted, my job is to provide a bit of historical context, a bit of the backstory that brings us to today. And also, as Jeff noted, that started pretty much 4 years ago, maybe summer, not quite fall, in 2014, with a challenge from a university trustee and a member of the Berman Institute Advisory Board, Andreas Dracopoulos. And Andreas challenged us as a university to think beyond the traditional intellectual footprint of biomedical ethics to other critical domains where questions of ethics and society intersect. So that was Andreas's challenge. Surely there are ethical issues outside of medical science, outside of medical care, outside of public health policy, outside of nursing practice. What about all of these other ethical issues? He asked us, in effect, to embrace and advance the wider field of practical ethics, of which we would argue biomedical ethics is a part, for the university. Now, Andreas's challenge set a wonderful process in motion that involved the provost and the deans of the schools of arts and sciences, business, education, engineering, Peabody, and SAIS. as well as the leadership of the Berman Institute. And we all became committed to charting a way forward for Hopkins to lead in practical ethics. And let me just say that Mariah was with that process from the beginning. So her investment and commitment and stewardship of practical ethics at Johns Hopkins across the university is actually 4 years old. 4 years old. The first call for practical ethics proposals was released in July of 2015. 9 proposals were selected for funding, with faculty representation from very much the same set that you see up here: Krieger, Whiting, Seiss, Carey, Peabody, and the Berman Institute. It was at the symposium in which those proposals, those projects were presented in January of 2017 that the current and second round of practical ethics projects proposals call was announced. Our hope is that this will be a trajectory that keeps on chugging. We're not exactly sure the form and the shape, but we clearly, I think, have evidence that there is tremendous interest and tremendous talent across the university for engaging really important ethical issues in many spheres of society, and not solely in the area of biomedicine. And as these proposals or projects, as you'll hear about them, will represent, you'll see just the incredible breadth and incredible creativity of what happens when you give Hopkins faculty across the university a chance to think outside the box and think with colleagues that they don't normally interact with. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mariah.
Welcome everyone. In the spirit of injury prevention, I've modeled the pathway for all subsequent speakers to come up, please. And thanks to Suzanne for that advice. And thank you so much, Ruth and Jeff, for your extremely kind and generous introduction. And really, both of you, I also owe a debt of gratitude to for your leadership throughout the time that we've been working together on practical ethics. So as Jeff mentioned, I have good news and less good news. The good news is there's only one speaker now standing between you and the first of our 7 exciting presentations. The less good news is the reason why. It's because our expected host, screenwriter John Spates, was not able to join us today after all, but that's more good news for me because I get to host now, and I'm so excited to do that. I'm not a screenwriter except in my dreams. But I am very happy to be the program officer for the JHU Exploration of Practical Ethics, and I love this program. For many of us working on practical ethics, it is our favorite project out of all the projects that we have. And let me just take a moment now to express our appreciation to several colleagues whose efforts are indispensable to the success of what we're doing. Would you please stand as I call your name and remain standing until we can give you all a round of applause. Suzanne, Jeff already mentioned, please stand. I had exactly the same words: event specialist extraordinaire, a genius at event planning, led the design of this event that we're enjoying today, been my right-hand person for every aspect of what we've been doing the past year. Alan Regenberg, Director of Outreach and Research at the Berman Institute, whose efforts are integral to the operation of our program. Emmy Amelia Hood, Research Program Coordinator at the Berman Institute, who worked tirelessly to get the word out and also designed our very nice looking event program document. Thank you. And Jesse D'Agostino, are you here by any chance? I guess he's holding down the fort back at the Berman Institute. He worked really closely with us to administer the proposal review process last summer. Way to go. All right, so I have a little bit less to say in between presentations than John Spates would say probably. So we'll be keeping on track with our timing to the minute. At some point, we'll catch up. Don't worry about that. But my first intention of 2 intentions for the rest of my remarks, which are going to be brief, is to help everybody who's here today feel welcome, comfortable, at home, and well-oriented. So I have a few housekeeping notes. The women's room is through the cafe, towards the left on the right-hand side. The men's room is, again, through the cafe on the right-hand side of the cafe. If that sounds confusing, just ask our volunteers. They'll show you how to find these rooms. We'll serve light refreshments at a break about halfway through. Everybody's invited to a reception immediately following the symposium because, as those of us in the field of philosophy know, if you're going to have a symposium, you got to serve drinks. So that'll be at 5 p.m. in the Great Hall, located outside this room. We have today's entire agenda listed on the second inside page of the program. We have detailed descriptions of the investigators and projects on the remaining inside pages. Please note a survey that is inside your program and fill it out for us at the end. Volunteers will be positioned to collect those and give you implements to write with, too, if you need that. Now, I had a second intention for these brief opening remarks, and that is to celebrate the existence and the work of the Practical Ethics Awardees themselves. Jeff and Ruth very, very nicely told the story of the Practical Ethics Initiative. In the second round of funding, we announced a total of $350,000 available. We received 32 applications from 103 faculty investigators representing all 11 university divisions among them. And my job was to work with all those teams to help them put together the best proposal we could. I won't say there was blood, sweat, and tears involved, but there was a lot of sweat, for sure. Partly because it was in the middle of the summer. And we all walked around quite a lot and wore out several pairs of shoes to meet with each other. And we went through a very difficult competitive review process to select the 7 projects we're hearing about today. In case any of the anonymous reviewers are in the audience, I will not make eye contact with you, but thank you for your diligent service, and you know who you are. So before we segue to the first presentation, I really just want to express the joy and gratitude that those of us running this initiative feel about all these projects. Awardees, this is a great day. This is your day. We love you. We love your work, and we're excited to hear what you have to say. So may the first presenting team please come up.